I'm all for talking and dialoguing and trying to fix it without violence. The question, though, is when it doesn't work, what do you do then? Do you know why now? Are you getting it? Why the whole system is rigged into convincing boys from the moment they're born that they're really girls and they should dress in pink and play with dolls and all that stuff? Well, if you want to control society, you want to emasculate the men. They've gotten people to believe, okay, you can fix it through voting. Of course, it's this conditioning and passivity. I think people are, if you're born in Western nations, you are immediately indoctrinated from birth in being passive. In exactly the way I just told you, which is violence is never the answer. Okay, we're supposed to talk, we're supposed to dialogue, and all that's fine. I'm not against that. I'm all for talking and dialoguing and trying to fix it without violence. The question, though, is when it doesn't work, what do you do then? When decades and decades go by and it does not work, it only gets worse and worse to the point that you're worried about your wife or daughter, if you have one, walking out in the street because she's going to be raped and killed or maybe beheaded or stabbed in the neck. I just told you, I read that most recently 2 days ago in Britain, a Pakistani stabbed some woman in the neck. That's happening, but you've been conditioned somehow to just take it because we'll fix it one way or the other. We're going to vote. There's this party that's come and it's going to fix it for us. If that was going to happen, it would have happened decades ago. All right. So all you people who are still hoping in this or that party, yeah, keep hoping. You'll see. Time will run out, and that's all they're waiting for. They want more and more time to run out because when the time runs out, then the jig will be up, and it won't matter what you want or what you do because you will not be in a position to do anything about it. And then, of course, this is a big one, the emasculation of men. Do you know why now? Are you getting it? Why the whole system is rigged into convincing boys from the moment they're born that they're really girls and they should dress in pink and play with dolls and all that stuff? Well, if you want to control society, you want to emasculate the men because men are problematic. They're troublemakers. Okay, but if you take them from their youth and you convince them that, you convince them that they're basically women and also convince them that their life is all about hedonism, just get what you can, and be happy, enjoy pleasure, sex, food, drugs, rock and roll, bro, that sort of thing. Or maybe the more professional ones, get them convinced it's all about their career. You don't want to get in trouble. Don't rock the boat. Okay. Well, all of that has an emasculating effect. And then people, men in this case, don't fight back. They like women, just get in line. And if you're a woman, don't get upset because I said like women. It's normal and natural for women to actually not fight back because they're looking for the men to do it. And when the men don't do it, I don't expect the women to do it, at least not in a meaningful or realistic sense at all. Because they can't. Not your fault. So, yeah, there's a lot of this emasculation going on. And now you also know why they want to convince, why homosexuality is such a... Imagine if I want to control a society, I'd rather every man be a homosexual. He's worried about what his pronoun is and, his identity, and he doesn't know who he is. You expect this kind of person to fight back? Nope. Okay, so now you understand why all of this is happening, all this mass indoctrination and this crazy social experiment. In large measure, it is to emasculate men so they can't do and they can't respond and they don't do what men have done historically, which is when push comes to shove and the other side doesn't want to cooperate, well, you go to war. So that's why you are seeing what you're seeing, which is it's much worse than it's ever been, and people are not doing anything. They're just casually sitting back, waiting for the next guy I'm going to vote for. He'll take care of it. And they've been waiting for decades. For some reason, it doesn't work, does it? If you're born into, let's say 2026, or let's say you were born in 2020 and now you're a 26-year-old in Britain. You've grown around this. Okay, you're accustomed to this. This is normal. You expect your life and your world and your country to just every day have random Muslim migrants attacking people and stabbing them and raping them. That's just normal. You don't expect anything different because you were born into it. And when it gets worse, incrementally, so let's say you were born in 1990. Or 1980. Let's say you're my age. Born in 73. In England, let's say, or Britain. It probably wasn't that bad, I'm sure, as far as the migrant thing. But then by 2000, yeah, you have a significant amount, and you're kind of like, what? It's kind of getting a little weird. But then, by 2010, as bad as it gets, you're used to this. It becomes normal, right? It's normalized in your mind. This is the boiling frog analogy. Just like he sits there, the frog, boiling, and it gets higher and higher, and he doesn't notice it because it's a gradual, incremental change. This is what I mean. Everything that we're talking about has happened gradually and incrementally so that people just accept it. It becomes normal to them. And it's normalized in their mind. They think this is just the way life is. If it happens out of the blue, let's say England had no migrants, no Muslims. I don't know when it all started, but let's say the year is 1980 and there are none. And then the government decided to bring like 1 million. Okay, that would not work. There would be a war at that point. Because immediately it would just be so out of hand. It would be so obvious. It would be so, cataclysmic. There's no acclamation that the people would protest and would engage in violence. I have no doubt. Okay. But you bring in a little, and at the same time, you indoctrinate the people about, oh, you're a racist. Oh, you have to be nice to people. Oh, they suffered from colonialism. Now it's our turn to, make it up for them. Oh, this, oh, that. Is in conjunction with bringing in more and more, okay, you start getting used to it. And you don't realize something, which is that all this is self-made. All these problems, and this is the really grand point I think we're going to make here, are self-made, self-imposed. None of this is organic. Other nations have organic problems, economic problems, crime, things like that. In the West, it's not organic. They went out of their way to do this to you. And please spare me. A lot of people like to think that these politicians who do this, the EU, the elite, whatever you want to call them, you like to think it's comforting to say they're stupid. Oh, those idiots, look at the policies they did. They're ruining the country. They don't know any better. No, they're not stupid. You are, if you think that. Okay, these people are not stupid. They want you to think they're stupid because that gets them off the hook. If you say they're stupid, yeah, okay, that's they're off the hook. Oh, sorry, I made a dumb decision, and you get to feel good about yourself because you're smarter. Wrong. It's the opposite. They are not stupid. This is all intentional, and the best thing you can do for them is call them stupid. Okay. At this late stage in the game, with what we're seeing, this is intentional. Okay. Please understand that. If you take nothing else away from this, please understand that this is 100% intentional. This is an agenda. What the agenda is, how it works, how it culminates, I don't know. I mean, I have guesses, but point is, there is no way, shape, or form. Now, what is happening now is just, we still don't get it because we're ideologues and we believe in a utopian thing and we believe in Islam is kumbaya, blah, blah. No. Nobody's at that level anymore. I'm talking about the people who are in power, okay? Even if they ever were. They're not at this point. It's impossible. How can you be? Because what we're seeing now is if this was, 15, 20 years ago and a Muslim migrant went stabbing, okay, and then, okay, they would have listened to the people. They would have done something. They would have curtailed migration at least. But what have they done? The more there have been attacks, the more Muslims they brought in, and the more they've shut you down from noticing it and talking about it. Now, if that's not obvious, I don't know what more do you need, okay? This is all by design. They are destroying your country. They hate you. Wake up, all right? And why, the why is a very profound reason. We can get into that some other time. This is even more philosophical. But the facts are the facts. Look around you. This is ridiculous. And this is why I think to myself, if you could bring the people like the founders of America who, over a tea tax, went to war, and you showed them what's happening, what the British government is doing now to their own subjects, and said, hey, what do you think we should do? Should we wait and vote for, this party? And we've voted for other parties that didn't work, or should we actually go to war? I think I know their answer. All right, I think I know every sane person's answer because it's the only one there is. What else can you do? It's so obvious. It's so in our face. And another analogy I'd like to give you so you understand is the reason the American Revolution happened and the Americans fought back is because they actually had a fierce love for liberty. They really did. Read some of what they write. Okay, they really did. They were born free and they loved freedom and they didn't want anyone to tread on them, as it were. All right. Now, what if you're born a slave? Think about that. A lot of people historically were born into slavery. Their parents are slaves. They don't even know their parents or their mom. No, they're born as slaves. So tell me, if you're born into slavery, you're not going to notice it. You're not going to think that your current life and your current situation is weird or bad because it's just all you know. You won't even know what freedom means or liberty. Those words will have absolutely no meaning in your head because it's not something you've experienced or you understand. You won't realize anything is wrong. And I think that also explains what's happening in the West in general and Britain in particular is because, as I said, people have been born into this crazy situation where all these problems are being created for them. And they just, take it for granted. That's how it is. And, what can we do? Well, let's just vote for this or that politician. Hopefully it'll get better. That's it. They're stuck into this cycle. They don't understand that they are slaves. And they're being treated like slaves. I'm sorry. This is what's happening. A lot of you people are being treated like slaves and you don't get it because you were born into a system of bondage. And that's all you know. You think you're free because they convince you you're free because you're free to engage in vices, right? That's the trick in the West. We believe in freedom. Freedom about what? Oh, freedom to engage in illicit sex and perverse sex and gluttony and anything and everything you can imagine that was once frowned upon by Western society. I talked about this before, like the 7 deadly sins. This is what our economy is actually all about, and we call it freedom. Right? It's great now to engage in pride. It's great to engage in lust and sex. It's great to engage in envy and avarice. This is what we're all about, and this is called freedom. Well, those things actually destroy the soul, and if we were a society that cared about our people, we wouldn't promote that sort of thing. We promote it because the more you give people that sort of freedom, the more you actually enslave them. Okay? The people who engage in freedom because, or they think they're free because they can engage in whatever, sexual immorality, and all the other things that I mentioned, they're actually enslaved to their vices. And that's what the people who rule you want. They want you to be enslaved to your vices because then you're easily controlled. It's very important, actually. You should keep that in mind, being born into slavery and not knowing the difference. So yeah, most people in the West are born into slavery. Look, slavery is not, we're forcing you to do something against your will and you're chained and you're in some mining until you die. Okay, that's one form of slavery. But we have another form, which is you think you're free, but we actually have you engaged. We've enslaved you to your own vices. We've made them available to you. We've made them so easily available to you. Look at pornography, man. It's just sad. Any little kid gets on the computer. I mean, I type one word because of the field I'm in, and I type things like, rape, because I'm looking up stuff about Islam and violence, and boom, there it is, porn. So they've made it so easy to enslave people. And so you're not free. People in the West are not free, and that's why they don't even know what it means to be free and to fight for freedom. They're born into this system. They are enslaved, and that's all there is to it. And again, if people could transcend and rise up above what's happening today and actually see and understand what is being foisted upon them, if they were normal, like people throughout history from the founding fathers all the way before them, they would just declare war instantaneously, and they would go and fight, and they'd die, and they wouldn't care because it would be worth it. But they have us so completely broken down now. Men are, as I told you, emasculated. They're turned into women. They think they're free in that sense. You expect them to fight. You expect them to do anything. And now you know why this whole sexual confusion and gender identity exists in the first place. It's part of the control to enslave you and to make adults out of you, which is anyone who falls for that sort of thing, of course, is. And the issue in Europe, of course, is Islam in Europe. If the leaders of Europe, of Britain, all they had to do is nothing and everything would be better. And what do I mean? What do I mean by that? If they did nothing, meaning they did not allow migration, because that was an act, they had to do something. And they had to go out of their way to bring even more and more, and they have to defend it. This is an act. The opposite is to do nothing, which is don't even do it. Don't even allow it. If they did that, everything would have been fine. But they didn't. They went out of their way to enable and empower migration and Muslims and flood them in. Okay? So all of those incidents I've just given you, I've just summarized a few, all the murders and the atrocities and the beheadings, the recent beheading in Belfast, the other beheading from 2013, also the Nigerian African, all the women being raped, all the little girls being stabbed, all the random Muslims driving their truck into this or that person or procession, screaming Allah Akbar, coming out and stabbing people. All of that, all the churches being systematically attacked, burned, and desecrated. Okay, all of that, none of that would have happened if they didn't go out of their way to enable it. Think about that for a second. Every other country, as I told you, their problems are organic. They just happen due to, the circumstances of that nation. Okay, in this case, you had these Western societies that were great, but someone who they're leaders, right? They're politicians. It's actually good because we know who does it, right? It's the politicians, right? Starmer, isn't he the one responsible right now? Merkel in Germany, wasn't she the one responsible? We know who's responsible, okay? But these people went out of their way to ruin their country. And again, you can comfort yourself by saying, oh, they're dumb, they don't know what they're doing, yeah, I could have done a better job. You can comfort yourself like that. But I think not. I don't think they're that dumb. There was a time when I agreed with you, like 15, 20 years ago, when I thought, oh man, these guys they're just naive, they're utopians, they're crazy leftists. At this point, at this stage, this late in the game, with how horrible the situation is, and the natives of Europe fighting back and hating what's happening and rioting, and the government's only response is double down and suppress their freedom and put those people in jail and continue supporting and bringing in Muslim migrants. Yeah, you need to get it. This is intentional. In Europe, you have a very weird situation where the leaders are not doing that. They're trying to destroy and suppress it, and including by bringing in an alien hostile force, which is constantly doing it before everyone's eyes. Because here's the fact. Don't ever think these authorities, whoever they are ever going to willingly give up power. They're not going to say, okay, you guys are upset and we've been voted out. They're not going to be voted out. I already told you the voting thing's a scam. Doesn't matter who you vote in. They're going to somehow, one way or the other, willingly or unwillingly, somehow conform to the general narrative. We've seen this time and time again all around the world. And again, to quote Donald Trump, the system is rigged. So again, whoever you want to elect or don't elect, whether they're the left or the right and all that sort of thing, doesn't make a difference. And like I said, if you don't believe me, all you have to do is take a close look at the last few decades, starting from, let's say, the 60s, and no matter how much the normal people protest or who they voted in, things have progressively, no pun intended, gotten worse. And, make no mistake of it, that when enough time has passed, the truth will finally come out, and it won't be good because it will be too late for you. So, again, I began this by telling you I'm asking a philosophical question because I'm just curious. And I wish we can get to the bottom of it and someone can give me an answer, which is, when is war justified? So, either the founders of America were, like I said, just rebels, horrible people, or, as I was told, heroes who paved the way for the greatest country in the world. You tell me, which ones were they? Because based on the lack of response and conduct of the Europeans today in Britain, who are suffering much worse at the hands of their authorities, just like the Americans were, they're taking it, they're accepting it. So there's two conclusions. The founders of America were horrible men. They should have actually accepted what was happening and tried to reach some kind of agreement with the British government instead of going to war. Or today's modern Europeans are just cowards and totally emasculated and incapable of actually reclaiming their lands. That's why they're engaged in white flight, which is ridiculous because that's such a loss. You just give up land and keep retreating and retreating. I get it from a temporal sense of view because you're going to die, so it's not my problem. And you probably don't have children, the people who do this, so I get it. But it's really a sad thing. It's a cowardly thing when you're actually withdrawing from your own land and running away and letting all these hordes take over instead of actually nipping it in the bud and seeing it for what it is, which is the people who rule over you are definitely trying to destroy you. There's no question about that anymore. If you're still trying to figure that out, just give it up. Accept what's happening and don't even bother. All right?